Okay, so before we begin, let's get a quick recap of the original teaser trailer Naughty Dog released a few months back.
Some chains can never be broken. I lost 15 years, buried alive, erased. You left me, rotting in that hellhole, and never looked back. But you can't outrun the past. And when it catches up, when all your lies collapse around you, I'll be there, sifting through the wreckage. You owe me.
PlayStation.
Okay, so obviously the teaser trailer showed us a map. That map was actually, as other people have pointed out, of specifically Africa, of South Africa, starting at the Cape of Good Hope and going all the way towards Madagascar, where the trailer ends up ending. It actually zooms in on two small islands off the coast of Madagascar. The first is the island of Sainte Marie, and the second is the island of Reunion. If you watch the trailer, you can actually read Madagascar across the landmass to the left, then stops and circles Sainte Marie, which is kind of awkwardly large in the trailer, as it's actually a pretty small island if you look on any map of Madagascar. The importance of this island is actually it was a suggested location of the pirate city Libertatia, I think that's how you pronounce it, which is actually argued whether or not to even have ever existed outside of stories, making it the perfect Uncharted 4 hotspot, especially after Realm of the Pillars. One of the most detailed sources of Libertatia lore came from a book that was supposedly written by Daniel Defoe, a famous England writer, called A General History of the Pirates. Defoe was a pretty famous character in England, spanning many careers and even being a spy himself. Again, a perfect candidate for Uncharted 4 to look into. Defoe's A General History of the Pirates included one pilot that was primarily located around Madagascar and the Indian Ocean, called Henry Every. His name actually appears in the teaser trailer itself, so let's actually see if we can find it here. So we'll go through the trailer again. Again, you can see it saying Cape of Good Hope. So again, that's proof enough. We're down at South Africa. And we keep on going, cross a little body of water. Now we're at Madagascar. You can, again, read it to the left there. Keep on going, a few other landmarks, abandon your hopes, yada yada yada. Circles Isla de Sainte Marie, crosses it off. Forgotten for Liberty, and we see these famous skull and crossbones present with basically any and all pirates. But again, Henry Every, this super famous pirate, his name actually appears in the trailer itself for a very brief moment, so let's back things up a little bit and let's spot it out. So back it up here, keep on going. Abandon your hopes, and right here it says, Every betrayed us all. Now, if you just read it as is, it kind of plays the pronoun games, like what on earth is that talking about? That's because every in this instance is a proper noun, specifically Henry Every, who was indeed a very famous pirate. He was actually considered to be the king of pirates in his time, actually sometimes attributed to the king of Libertatia, this pirate homeland. His most cunning achievement was actually successfully raiding the Grand Mughal's fleet, which was an Indian fleet consisting of 25 ships, carrying the richest prizes in all of Asia and possibly even the world of that time. With his own 2 or 3 ship fleet, it was a really small fleet, pretty amazing achievement on his part. But instead of sharing all the riches, Every took the money for himself and all of his prizes, hence the quoted phrase, Henry betrayed us all. Of course, afterwards there was a massive manhunt, but Every eventually escaped and retired in New Providence in the Bahamas, which means that we may actually finally find ourselves in the United States in the Uncharted series, or perhaps in the Caribbean, 2 locations that they have not looked into very much. After a while, though, people heard about his retirement, and the British government decided to bring him to justice. However, Every actually disappeared, completely vanishing along with all of his treasure. No one has ever found him or the treasure, despite claims that he sold it. One of the rumored places he hid it was actually on the island of Reunion, just off the coast of Madagascar again, right next to the pirate city of Libertatia. This puts some context into the teaser trailer itself as to why they circled the island of St. Marie and then crossed it off, since it was the location of this pirate city, but not where Every hid his treasure. So, just from this short little teaser, we can logically assume that Uncharted 4 will be taking place in Madagascar and possibly even the Bahamas. We will most likely at some point be actually adventuring within the pirate city of Libertatia, so expect booby traps and things like that, and trying to find the lost treasure of Captain Henry Every of the Fancy, that's his ship. However, the first actual release trailer that was given to us at E3 tells us even more, so let's actually take a quick peek at it as well.
So, what do you think?
It's a lot to take in, kid. Where do I even start? You've been out of the game for a long time. Or maybe I need to remind you the kind of people we'd be crossing here.
Sully, I know the risks. But come on, it's a surefire plan.
Yeah. If there's one thing I've learned in all these years, it's there's no such thing as a surefire plan.
I don't really have an option here. You know that. And yeah, maybe you're right. I've been out of the game, but I need back in. So can I count on you? One last time?
All right, kid. Let's go do it. One last time.
So, aside from the much darker view that Naughty Dog seems to be taking with Uncharted 4, we can immediately make a handful of conclusions. First of all, at least part of Uncharted 4 will be taking place roughly 15 to 20 years after Uncharted 3. You can simply tell that by Drake's physique. He was in his late 30s, as Naughty Dog said in Uncharted 3, which would put Drake in his early 50s in this trailer. Roughly the age that Sully was in Uncharted 3, which means that Sully, if he is still alive at this point in time, he'd be in his mid-60s, which is pretty old for ass-kicking. But hell, if Indiana Jones can do it, I guess Victor Sullivan can too. Also, just connecting lines, the writing of the subtitle A Thief's End matches perfectly with the handwritten notes on the map in the teaser trailer. And speaking of the subtitle, I know many people are assuming that A Thief's End is referring to Drake's death, but I personally think it's probably Sully's. The voices in the trailer match that of Sully and not Nate in Uncharted 3, not the voices of the same characters that would be 15 to 20 years older. Your voice just naturally, steadily gets gravelly as you get older, which was definitely not Drake's. He sounded exactly the same way he did in Uncharted 3. And since Sully isn't present here in the trailer, it does make me think that perhaps Sully is the thief who died, and Drake is going about trying to avenge his death. It also explains somewhat who the mysterious voice was in the teaser trailer. The guy is obviously not Drake or Sully, but he does say that, quote-unquote, I lost 15 years buried alive, erased. You left me rotting in that hellhole and never looked back. But you can't outrun the past, and when it catches up, when all your lies collapse around you, I'll be there, sifting through the wreckage. You owe me. Now, this certainly doesn't sound like something Nathan Drake would have done. Drake has always been the hero taking the moral high ground. For instance, in Uncharted 1, he tried to save Eddie even after Eddie attempted to kill him. However, this does sound perfect for something that Sully might have done in his past. Sully has been painted as a bit of a liar, kind of a shady character almost, fitting the quote again when he says, "Watch your lies collapse around you," and also seems to be someone that might be indebted to rather shady people. I guarantee that the majority of Uncharted 4 will be a flashback similar to the way that Uncharted 2 was set up. We will maybe start off as the trailer shows here, but we'll then play through the backstory as to who Nate or Sully left in a hellhole for 15 years ago, and why they're back with a vengeance. Now, I know the theory got thrown around that the mysterious villain is actually Talbot, which I have to say does unfortunately kind of fit. He says that he lost 15 years of his life buried alive, which is roughly the time span between Uncharted 3 and 4. But despite all the evidence, I do not believe the villain is Talbot. Honestly, he had a pretty minuscule role in Uncharted 3, and he was also shot multiple times by Jake before falling into a collapsing desert. Also, I wouldn't really describe Around with the Pillars as a hellhole. Simply put, a hellhole is, well, a hole, more like a jail. Talbot would have been in a desert, which is more of a void, not a hole. There's a pretty big difference there. This character, whoever he is definitely going to be brand new. I guarantee it. My prediction is that he's a rather shady character from Sully's past seeking vengeance, and maybe perhaps getting it, hence the title A Thief's End. This sends Nate on a revenge manhunt trying to beat this guy to the treasure. Now, the trailer itself really doesn't show us all that much. We can see that Jake does have his wedding ring, which means that we can expect to see Elena back for at least part of Uncharted 4. We also see the hanging pirates, again fitting what the teaser trailer already told us. As for where Drake is in the trailer, I would have to argue that he is in Madagascar simply because it fits everything else. He's obviously in a jungle, and you can actually see some mountains in the background, both of which fit Madagascar's topography, specifically the area off the coast where the islet of Saint Marie is located. I've tried to look in the background for some kind of a boat or wreckage or something to explain why Drake was hit in the head and left unconscious in the river with his gun a few feet away from him, but I honestly don't really have too much of a clue. Obviously, he was in some sort of a combat. My best guess is that maybe he was betrayed to some degree, since he's obviously close to Libertatia, being knocked unconscious for either protection, or maybe his partner was trying to pull a Henry Avery themselves, hoping to take the treasure for themselves, but there's really nothing that we can go on at this point. I would expect to find Sully's new plane somewhere throughout the game, since he showed it off the end of Uncharted 3, and hopefully Drake isn't lying in this river after crashing it like he did in Uncharted 1. When it comes to Drake's and Sully's conversation in the trailer, Sully mentions that Drake's been out of the game for a long time, which implies that he and Elena have probably settled down, maybe even had a kid, just speculating here though. But it's interesting how Drake says that he needs back in, like it's almost a drug to him. He also says how he doesn't really have an option, which does suggest that maybe this villain is a character from Drake's past and not Sully's, who has maybe taken Elena hostage in some way. All of this again points to a much darker chapter in the Uncharted series as compared to the previous three. So, the first official release trailer really did more to back up previous theories created about the game from the teaser trailer, but it also showed us that parts of Uncharted 4 will be taking place 15 to 20 years after the events of Uncharted 3, so of course expect flashbacks to explain who the villain is. We were also finally given a title, A Thief's End, which is maybe hinting at Sully's death. Also expect Elena to be present along with a new water plane that hopefully won't get crashed by Drake this time. And finally, we know that the villain is going to be a new character, probably from Sully's past, but it could also be from Drake's. So that's pretty much everything we know so far about Uncharted 4 A Thief's End. Feel free to add your comments down below with your own theories and keep on adventuring. We all look forward to Naughty Dog's newest installment of the Uncharted series. Thanks for watching.